Okay, is that better?
There, that's better.
Okay. Yeah, that's the monitor thing. So we can. But now we have our theme song, finally. She's been testing this out for a while now because we've had all sorts of technical difficulties. But isn't that fun?
Yeah, this
I don't know
is
who
fun.
designed that. It's like, I want the job, but that's what I got to do. I got to
This is
design fun things like that. So here's to hoping everything records. But, hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, and welcome to, this is episode 2 of season 2 of the Lagniappe here at St. Marks. Isn't that
That is wonderful.
It is.
Yes.
It's very fun. And I know we're talking today with somebody who needs no introduction, but it's one of those, you say you need no introduction, you do it anyway,
You
right?
do.
I don't know why we do this. But from either All Saints Episcopal in Johnson City and St. Marks here in Chenango Bridge. She's very well known, and we are very happy to have the wonderful Reverend Deacon Dorothy Pierce.
And I'm happy to be here.
And the crowd goes wild. See, there it is.
Oh, my goodness.
It's our live audience right here in the background. It's great. It's great. Well, thank you. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, and like none of this would be possible. I have to give a shout out to your husband, Andy, because you know that it's his fault, or you can either thank him or blame him for all of this happening. Because I got to tell you all the story, so I can give a shout out to Andy. When St. Marks was first started streaming and everything, and Andy did all of the streaming. Mm-hmm. Well, eventually he, passed the baton to me, and he sent me a write-up from the diocese that had stuff about a little streaming camera called a Mevo. And he said he sent all the specs and everything. He said, "Hey, I think this would be good." That was one little camera. Y'all see all this?
Oh, my goodness.
All of this was born out of that one camera.
One little camera.
One camera. So shout out to Andy there. But I wanted to sit down and talk with you because although you're very well known, obviously, at St. Marks and at All Saints Episcopal, of course, where you are, there's probably a thing or two that the home audience and the millions and millions of people watching don't know. You might have to talk into the mic a little bit there. But all the millions of people that don't know something about you, and I mean that in a good way, not in America's Most Wanted kind of way. But if it wasn't in America's Most Wanted kind of way, we would get season 3 out of it and our own Netflix special. So I'm here to tell you. So what I know you from a couple of things. I know you from the Tuesday Bible studies
Okay.
at All Saints. And if y'all have not been, you need to go because it's very nice and it's very fun. And you do the Sunday morning, in the Word.
Dwelling in the Word.
I should know that, y'all. I did not. And you do that every Sunday?
Every single Sunday, 8:15 to 9.
See, you heard it here first. It's a plug. Show up there. And that y'all do that over Zoom, right?
We do. We used to do it in person, but at the onset of the pandemic, we started doing it on Zoom, and we've just stayed that way.
Oh.
Everybody kind of wanted it. It's easy for them and very comfortable.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's fun.
As we do the Thursday night compline, you were probably going to mention that, too.
Yes, that was actually next.
I'm sorry.
She did not look at my
Button in.
notes. She just took my thunder right there. I was like, okay. But yes, the Thursday compline, and you're preaching, of
Yes.
course.
Mhm.
And what I want to talk about a little bit more in depth later is your jail ministry.
Okay.
So before we get to all of that, we have all of the fun opening stuff. And these are the 17 lightning round questions all at once. The where you from, where'd you grow up, where'd you go to school, what's your theological training, what'd you do before this? And
I'm old, so I've got a lot to say. A lot of years.
We get
My belt.
excuse me. We have all the time that's allowed on all of the recordings, so you take as much time as you want. So where are you from originally?
Well, I grew up in New York State. My dad was a Methodist minister and a high school English teacher. So at that time, and I don't know what it is like now, but at that time, Methodist ministers were moved every 3 to 5 years. So we moved around a great deal when I was growing up. And so I pretty much grew up in a A Methodist community and a Methodist parsonage with 4 brothers and 4 sisters
Woo!
and a mom. Sometimes the parsonages
4
were little.
brothers and 4
4
sisters?
sisters, yes.
Where are you in the food
Number
chain?
4.
Number 4.
4.
Excuse me. So how was it growing up with 4 brothers and sisters?
Crowded. But it was fun. Everything was very prescribed. The whole church, in fact, each community that we lived in, which was usually a small community, kept their eyes on us all the time. They
Really?
reported back to
Was
mom
it because
and
y'all were
dad.
little juvenile delinquents or
PKs.
preacher's kids?
Yes.
Yeah, y'all got your own. Like, if you're a preacher's kid, there's all sorts of stuff that comes with that.
But there was a real security to that. I didn't mind it. But probably because I tried really hard to behave myself.
In other words, y'all, she never got caught. That's what it was, right? You just didn't get caught. Did any of your other brothers and sisters, like, did they follow the Methodist minister?
They did not. No, they didn't.
That was so. Just you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that'll be fun. So, how did you get from Methodist to Episcopal?
So that occurred with in getting married. So,
Okay.
And this was my first marriage, and I became an Episcopalian, and I've stayed with it ever since.
Oh, and it's funny because I know when I talk to, there's a lot of Methodists that turn Episcopalian. They're not going to let us talk about this anymore, the Methodists, because I know when I had talked to Dawn, the priest here at St. Marks, as y'all probably know, she also started out Methodist. So is there,
Right,
yeah,
that's
is there like a club that y'all have, or
No, but I mean,
Is it-
I loved growing up in the Methodist church, and with my dad, with his sermons and
Yeah.
his Bible studies and everything, and so I was very reluctant at first to switch over to becoming Episcopalian, but I've never turned back.
oh,
So I'm glad to have that background.
Yeah.
It's a real firm foundation.
So how did you wind up where you are as a deacon? Did you start out that way, or?
Okay, so I was a French major in college. I taught French my first year of teaching. We moved, and so I started teaching elementary school, and had 3 children, and in the course of all those years, I kind of went back and forth between teaching and doing social work. When I went back for my master's, I became a guidance counselor, so my degree is in counseling. And so...
How did I not know you were we're both social workers
Yes.
here. How did I not know that? I've known you for a while.
And that was, the teaching was always wonderful, and so was the social work. I was a social worker at a nursing home, and then for the Broome Developmental Center when we moved to this area.
Oh, wow.
And so I retired a number of years ago.
It was last week, y'all. She's not retired. Don't let her fool you. She is not retired.
So in retirement, one of my friends' wife worked at the Broome County Jail, and he said, if you're looking for something to do, my wife could use you as a volunteer at the jail. So I became a volunteer. I started teaching poetry classes and doing some yoga and meditation
Yeah.
with the men and women there. And then it turned out that I was offered a full-time position as discharge planner and also as an assistant chaplain, which I took. And I did that. There's so many little things in here. I'll try not to get too wordy, but it was wonderful. I really took, because my father was also a chaplain at the state facility in Vermont, and so
okay.
I saw how much it meant to him,
Yeah.
to work with the men in particular there. So I think that was. I know you're going to ask probably about the
Yeah,
jail
she's
stuff
stealing
later.
the thunder, y'all.
Sorry.
She doesn't get to do. We talked about that. No stealing thunder.
But anyway, so I just really took to being at the jail with the men and the women and took a full-time job until and remember, I was in retirement from teaching and social work, and during that time, I went into discernment to become a deacon.
Okay.
And so one of the things that Bishop Adams encouraged me to do was, to make some decisions. But I had a lot of things that I wanted to do in retirement. Yeah, I couldn't do them all.
Yeah.
So I cut back on my hours at the jail, but never really left.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. Where did you go, like theological training, or to become a deacon, did you have to do all the things?
Yes, there was a whole year of discernment.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, there was a formation program which lasted 3 years. So there were 2 years of study. It was seminary type. I don't know if that's the terminology, but study at St Marks House in New Hartford. And then the third year, there were a couple of internships. I did one up in Whitney Point at the former Grace Church, and then one at Christ Church in Binghamton.
Oh, now I've heard a couple of people say about the discernment process. What is it? I mean, you said it takes a year.
It took a whole year.
What does that look like? Do you have help? Do you not have
Oh,
help?
yes. A team was appointed,
Mm-hmm.
and we met at Trinity Episcopal Church in Binghamton. For a year, we met. I think it was on a monthly basis, and had wonderful discussions. Had written assignments to do during that time.
They gave you homework?
Oh,
when
yes.
You just decide.
I love homework. I have to say that I love homework.
You're the one. You're the one that messed it up for every other single person in the universe right there. It's like, no, I like homework.
But I had to be approved by that committee,
Yeah.
by that committee of
And
persons.
that phone you hear ringing in the background is because we're here at St. Marks Episcopal, and we're the only ones here. And now we don't. Now we're going to get all of that in there. I'm not going to edit that out, too. We're going to have the whole thing. But you ever try to answer a question when there's a phone ringing? It's like, we're just going to sit here and just go, they're going to give up in a minute. Or I could, shut the door, but that would be, no. There you go. Okay.
That's so funny.
That's the fun of doing this. It's like we had technical difficulties earlier. We're going to have the phone ringing. It's all fun.
Goodness.
But, okay, so back to our regularly scheduled program. So during the discernment, you meet with these people monthly?
Monthly.
And do they discuss, okay, how do you envision it, or why are you doing this, or is it?
All of the above.
I love all of the above answers.
Yeah, all of the above. It was very thorough. It was very comprehensive. And like I said, there were assignments and some papers, some written things, and we discussed them. And so I had to have their approval before I could move on and then become a candidate for the formation program. It's a formation program through the diocese.
So how did you? I mean, you said you went into the discernment process. What was there something that inspired you to do that, or is it just because you had a lot? You had the French thing, and then you had the social worker thing, and then
I knew from way back when. I can't really give you a specific time, but I really knew that I had been called, and a lot of it had to do with my father. With his ministry and his teaching, and his work as a prison chaplain at the Vermont State Prison. Yeah. But I just, it's touched me very, very deeply, and so I knew it was always there. The call was always there.
Did you ever help him out, when he would do his preaching or anything, or like his little sidekick?
I taught Sunday school. Church was non-negotiable, but I didn't mind. I loved it. I really loved it. Sang in the choir. We had with 9 children, we had our own little band, orchestra.
You could have your own softball team, bowling team.
So I was always involved.
Yeah.
In church activities, always, and really enjoyed it. And I always felt a call to be a minister, a priest, a deacon. There was always that call within me.
So what took you so long between the?
Well, I used to ask myself, I don't know. I guess I had to retire from all that other stuff.
It's like maybe you wanted to know French first.
Yes, yeah.
I'd never even remotely. I had 4 years of Spanish in high school. I can say the book is on the table, and that's it. Doesn't come up in everyday conversations, but I'm very proud of that. But where were you now? We all know you as being the All Saints Episcopal deacon. Where were you before that, or how did you get to All Saints?
So when I first was ordained, and that was November 14th, 2009, so it's been a while, it was decided by the clergy of our district that it would be a good idea for me to be a district deacon. And so what it was, at that time, there were actually 9 active Episcopal churches in our district. And then within a short period of time, it was 8, and then it was 7. But anyway, I was the deacon for each of the Episcopal churches in our district, and so I was kind of like a traveling deacon, which I really loved. It was a challenge, I have to say. It was a challenge, but I loved it.
So you've been a deacon for how long?
15 years.
15. She did the math on that. She just told me the date that she became ordained. And
I had to stop and think. Math was never my subject.
It was mine, but you did that better than so it's just like, I got nothing for that. But when you said that being a district deacon, was challenging because you had to go around a lot. If you had to pick, like, what was during your time as a deacon, any particular thing that strikes out like this was like the biggest challenge that I had, an event, circumstance, or
I think just in general, wanting to be a part of each of the church the parish families, to be able to attend to pastoral care, go to the hospital. And at that time I was, still with the jail, and I'm still working with the jail. So just, I think the biggest challenge was time management. Time management.
Oh, yeah, I guess with 9, that would get,
So, and just, but I don't want to make it sound like it was negative in any way, because I really loved it. And I really, really loved being part of each of the parish families.
Yeah.
Just having those relationships, being able to preach once in a while, being able to be involved in all of their activities, go to their homes and pray and go to the hospital, when need be.
Yeah, no, I've seen you at the hospital a couple of times. Yeah. It's like, oh, I know you. But do you have a favorite part about being a deacon?
I think, that part, just being part of, the parish family of, having and they aren't just connections, they're deep relationships, being part of each other's lives and doing things together.
Yeah, and that's I can see the social work portion of that, because there's a certain level of, I don't want to say, commitment might be the right word, might be the wrong word, but there's a certain level of involvement that is, that when you do something like that, either with social work and the deacon thing, it's like, that's fun, because you've got, at least, especially with home visits and, with people with challenges at home, you've also got the educational background to help them with the systems. And that had to come in handy more than one occasion.
Oh, it has.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, because I know when, at one of the Bible studies that I was at that you were doing, you were mentioning some of the people that you were talking to and some of the systems that it's like, here's the problem that they had, and just knowing, well, I know where they should be able to get. So those two things seems to marry up like quite nicely. They did. But if there was, now this is for all of the millions of people watching in the whole Episcopal Church, they got everybody in, they're all watching. So if you could, change anything within the Episcopal framework of what deacons do right now, would you? If you could. Which, I mean, you don't have to.
Well, when I first entered the program, deacons were able to have a church, to have a church with a reserved sacrament, and they do in some dioceses. And I had always hoped for that, in a way
Yeah.
to have a little parish, and so I can't think of anything specifically that I would want to change, except that maybe for people to have more of an awareness of deacons as ordained leaders in the church.
Yes, that is something that, because I'm not a lifelong Episcopalian, I get the scenic route here, but that is one thing, my brain just kind of wants to go, okay, I get there's the priest and there's and I just grew up Roman Catholic, so we'll get that out of the way. But it's an awareness of what deacons do, what differentiates you from a priest, and at the same time, you're both ordained clergy, right?
Right.
And that's would the Episcopal Church bring that, to the congregation's attention?
And I'm speaking in a very limited way, just kind of with some of the churches that I have been involved with, that to remind people that deacons are ordained clergy, that we are part of the leadership of the church. We're not just wonderful people who do wonderful things, and we do. And
That's a
people
bonus.
love
She
us.
is a wonderful person, does wonderful things right here.
And it's not to set ourselves above or whatever anybody else, but that I know, like at the jail in particular, I don't wear a collar all the time, but when I do, it identifies me as clergy. That it affords. I think I've said this to you before. It affords some of the men and women there to recognize clergy, to recognize something about the church and about God, and about giving them an opportunity. Often, not always, but to be more respectful, to be much more respectful and mindful of a clergy person in their presence, who's there to help them.
Yeah, that is one thing I've always wondered about, because of the, when I look at a priest and a deacon, and like I said, I didn't grow up Episcopal or Methodist for that matter, and barely Roman Catholic, just so we're clear. But it's easy to tell, if you're Catholic, it's easy to tell it's the dude in the collar. But, do you find that there are times when people go, oh, you're just a deacon?
I hear that a lot.
Really? I hear that a lot. Without really explaining, you have the same training and you're ordained, and you have the same capabilities and everything else, and that would be a challenge, kind of a challenge and an opportunity at the same time. Maybe it's a little more low threat if somebody sees a deacon, because my experience seems to be more. And I'm not talking about all deacons all over the land, just so y'all know. I'm just talking about the ones that I come in contact with. And that's it appears more of a people kind of, almost like a social worker kind of thing, a little bit more. And the priest is more not that, without, nothing against all of the priests. Dawn, y'all watching this, nothing against that. But that was the sort of the vibe I get with where deacons come in. But it's almost like you wear two hats, because everybody knows the priest hat, but the deacon hat, you have the people side of it, like the social work side of it, but you have the spiritual side of it too. So getting people to realize that deacons are, in their own right, both ordained clergy, and can probably help with a little more nuts and bolts, because they're a little more, as we said in the military, like boots on the ground kind of thing. Which is, how do you think that would work if there would be more visibility? Like, like, what would that, like an educational thing with people in the congregations? Or
Yeah.
at the Episcopal, at the diocese level?
I think both. I think both. And I think maybe starting at, the local level.
Yeah.
Because from time to time, I have done forums of what it means to be a deacon. You go through
Okay.
the ordination of deacons, as prescribed in the Book of Common Prayer. But I think constant reminders, and I know that there's a fine line between, of just that constant reminder, but I think it's really important on the local and also on the diocesan level, also on any kind of level that, that who we are and who we are in relationship to the people in each parish family is important to be reminded, because many times, and I'm not saying this, meaning to be disparaging in any way, but there are times when a particular individual wants a priest, not a deacon.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm dying, or I'm sick, or I'm having this problem, and I need the priest, and I understand that. That, but I also understand that that a deacon can also be present, can be very, very present, and very, very helpful, spiritually helpful, in all kinds of situations, and it, again, not to be negative in any way, but there are times, I haven't really encountered this lately, but there were times at the beginning when I felt that a deacon was often defined by what he or she could not do.
Really?
You can't do this, you can't do that. Instead, there needs to be more focus on what we can do, who we actually are, who we, we're called by God to do and to be in relationship with one another.
Yeah. That's, y'all, there's going to be another forum now. But, okay, so now sort of leaning into that to talk about some of the ministries you've done. Like, you're very well known for your jail ministry here. And we have a mutual acquaintance from what I understand. Now, Jeff Pryor.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Jeff runs the Broome County Reentry program, and he developed the whole thing and the whole 9 yards. Well, Jeff and I were partners in the MSW program at BU. If there was a group project, if there was a partner thing, a video or anything that we had to do, it was always me and Jeff. And when the student body, or a whole class, wanted Jeff to be the president of the student council, Jeff came to me and he's like, "Hey, you want to do this?" I'm like, "Dude, really?" And I said, "Tell you what," I said, "you be president, I'll be your vice president." So Jeff and I went through all of the program and everything together. So shout out to Jeff if you're watching this. Very cool. But yeah, he's one of the hardest working dudes I ever worked with.
He's a wonderful person.
Yeah.
He really is.
I thought that was like really cool when I realized it's like, oh my gosh, Jeff.
He has a real heart for other people,
Yes, he does.
for all people, and ways, viable ways to meet their needs, help them out, and get them back on their feet, get them back into the community, and help them at the same time to see that they don't have to go back to the lives
Yeah.
they lived before. That they can be changed, transformed.
Yeah. And what led you to just this is where I want to really concentrate on?
To jail?
To the jail.
My father. Yeah, my father.
Your father.
Being a chaplain at the Vermont State Prison, and this was years ago.
Yeah.
But I could and it was all part of the total, he really inspired me in so many ways for teaching and also for ministry. He was just very passionate about the gospel, about God's love for us, and about seeing Jesus in others, and wanting people's lives to be better. So, that was like I said earlier, that was always in me. That was something that I would tuck away from, and it would come popping out from time to time.
Yeah.
And finally, when my friend said that his wife needed somebody to come and volunteer at the jail, it was just there, and I haven't turned back. I'm not on staff.
Okay.
I did retire from being on staff through the Broome County Council of Churches a little over 2 years ago, but I volunteer. I'm teaching poetry classes twice a week.
Really?
And I also help with one of the worship services. And I do some other things, but it's on a volunteer basis. I can't stay away. I can't stay away because it's just part of me. And it was inspired by my dad. It was beyond the actual jail work. It's and it's what I try to help the men and women at the jail too. Find out who you really are. Just find out who you are. What is it that excites you about life? What is it that God has called you to say yes to before you were even born? Why?
Yeah.
And so it's just in me. If that answers the question,
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers
It
the
does.
question.
Well, it's like, how do you prepare for something like that? I mean, they said they needed help. They needed a volunteer. Was there some sort of like, I don't know, I just kind of go in there and wing it, and it just kind of went from there, or?
I think there was a little bit of training. There was a little bit of training, but certainly I fell back on my social work training, my counseling, and my teaching, and just my upbringing in the Methodist Church. That foundation, and the people like my dad, who inspired me. So in a way, it was just everything. It was a conglomeration of everything.
Like, okay, in other words, all the things.
All
That's
the
what did it.
things.
All the things that did it.
A collection.
A collection of things. Was there anything, because of the setting, is there anything that you really have to pay attention to, or things that you have to kind of not pay attention to?
You mean at the jail?
Yeah.
Okay. It's important to be very attentive to the rules of the facility.
Okay.
To respect them. Whether I want to or not. But for the most part, the rules are good. For the whole part, they're good about security and about boundaries. You have to be really careful about when people are when they have been released, whether or not to maintain a relationship.
That's something that jail ministry, is it just for the for the incarcerated primarily, or is there, once they're released, do you help them navigate?
Once they're released, no, it used to be, and I'm not 100% sure on this, I'm sorry, but it used to be that if I were working at a state facility, let's say, or federal facility, that once a person has been released, I cannot have a contact with them. But with the jail, it's different. We are able to maintain relationship, and I've done that, and I love it. We've had Bible studies over at the Council of Churches. We do have. It's not really a re-entry Bible study and meal, but we have an every other week meal and Bible study, and it's usually at my house.
Oh, wow.
And so some of the men and women who come to that, I've met them at the jail, and I've invited them to come, and it's really wonderful, and I still, maintain friendships with a number of people, and take them to doctor's appointments, and take them grocery shopping.
That social work thing is
Yes,
hard to,
yes.
I know that. That's a hard one. It's like, no, you're going to do that, because that's what it is.
And I don't ever really see it as a boundary issue, because it's something that I love to do. It's not about me. I don't mean to make it sound like, it's feeding some need in me, but it's who I feel continue to feel called to be and to do. And so I continue that. A lot of Bible studies, meals, doctor's appointments, grocery shopping.
And what's a typical day like? Like, you've got you're going to the jail after this, right? So tell me in all of our millions of viewers, what's a typical day like?
So a typical day, it's really abbreviated now that I've retired, in the last couple of years. So now it's when I go today, I'm helping out with a service. I'm doing a worship service, and on Thursday and Friday mornings, I run a writing class, a poetry class. So those things are kind of set. They're set activities.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there isn't an awful lot that I do within the facility now that I've retired. It's more of what I do outside the facility with the things that I just mentioned before. Keeping in touch with people.
Yeah, is it once they're released, is it just like a personal between you and them, or is it like part of the system?
Both.
Both?
Yeah, well, both. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that they're still sort of maintain like a systems approach to sort of ease their reentry, as it were.
Yeah, pretty much. But it is things that that I have chosen to work with, and I this is the deacon in me too. I don't do these things alone. I try to involve as many people as I possibly can. Like the group that we have every other Monday night with the meal and the Bible study. There are a couple of pastors who come on a regular basis.
Oh wow!
And so, and it really is a wonderful group. But it's something that I myself have set up.
Yeah.
But we've been doing it for years. And we'll continue to do it for as long as we can.
That'll work. But is there anything that All Saints can do to help you, or St. Mark's for that matter?
All Saints and St. Mark's have both been absolutely wonderful over the years. I feel...
We did not pay her to say that, y'all. We did not.
I not only feel, I know that I am extremely supported and loved and cared for, and that I can call upon anybody in either of these parish families to be involved in one of the meals or activities, and that if I need sweatsuits or shoes or toiletries or any kind of items that help people, like at holiday time or when they're released, we can't really take too much to the men and women while they're in the facility. Yeah. But when they are released, we can provide clothing and different things. And if I need blankets or sheets or pots and pans, right now I'm collecting pots and pans for
Y'all heard
a woman.
Pots and pans.
Do you have any pots and pans?
There's going to be 75 million pots and pans now.
I do get. But I can call on All Saints. I can call on St. Mark's. And there is a wonderful response at all times. I do call on some of the other churches as well. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of an offshoot of when I was the district deacon. I would send out a note to all the churches and say, I need fill in the blank. Yeah. I need a dresser or whatever, help somebody set up an apartment. So I have a lot of people who are very loving and very helpful, and I really, really treasure it. I really appreciate it. I know I can do it.
Yeah. And now if there's anybody who didn't know that, now we're all now we all know. But I was checking our time, and we're almost out there.
Oh, my goodness.
But we have time for one more fun one. And that is, there's still quite a lot on your plate. She says she's retired. Did y'all get the impression at all during this that she is actually retired? Because I'm not seeing it. That's just me. I'm just not seeing it. But what do you do to be able to maintain that level of all the sort of full everything on your plate? What do you do for fun?
For fun? Well, I sing in the Downtown Singers. We have a concert coming up in May.
Get out!
Plug for that.
What do you sing?
And,
I did not know that.
Yeah. And so I've been in it for over 30 years. I've been in the Downtown Singers. And
okay, maybe I should have known then before that.
and I was in some other singing groups also, but I'm limited it to one. And take lots of walks and hikes, and
Yeah.
love to have friends over for dinner. And I meditate. I used to teach yoga, and I'm not teaching it now, but I have taught it. I taught it here at St. Marks for a while, or I led it. I should say I led.
I did not know
Yes,
that.
several years, right here in this room, and it was wonderful. And
Oh,
I've done
that's
that at
fun.
nursing homes. I continue to do it at nursing homes, and I did at the jail for a number of years. So there are many things. I am very mindful of needing self-care.
Yes.
Not to be selfish or anything
No,
like
no,
that.
no. It's kind of one of
But-
the airplane. Put your oxygen mask on
Yes,
first
you
before you
know.
do anybody else's. Yeah.
And that's for all of us to do, to always take time. And I start each day with meditation and some spiritual reading every day. It's just part of my routine.
Yeah. Yeah, I know when I was talking with Dawn and I was asking her, what she did to kind of recharge.
Mhm.
And we brought up like video games, but any video games?
I'm
at all?
not, no.
Not even.
no.
There's no appreciation for Xbox anywhere. I'm sad about that. That's bad
Not
TV
for,
and
not
video.
for any particular reason. I am a creature of habit. It's
No,
hard
those are
for me-
much better hobbies than what I do. It's like I sit there with a controller, or it's
I
not
just
quite the same
never
as.
tried it.
It's like, I teach English and meditate and teach all of these things. What do you do? Oh, I play video games.
Oh, that
so.
sounds wonderful. It does.
So I was like, we're not going to do that one anymore. Okay, but we are almost out of time. So is there anything else you'd like to say to the people
Just-
at either All Saints
Yeah,
or St. Mark's?
Thank you. Thank you for being part of the Deacon ministry. I know that I can count on you. I do. I don't hesitate to call on you, and that we're in this together. And I really truly treasure that. I really do. And I'm so happy that Renee has asked me to do this. I hope I haven't rambled too much.
No, you did better than me, so that's okay. But no, I have been wanting to sit down with you, as you know, for quite a while, because I think there's a lot of background that you have with All Saints Episcopal, where she is now, and with St. Mark's, because your family is so well known to both parishes that it's nice to find out the things that we didn't know.
Yeah, I love you all
Yeah.
very much.
Oh, I can't top that. We're gonna
I do.
close
I
right
love
there.
you.
So from all of us here at the Lagniappe at St. Mark's, thank y'all for joining. Thank you,
Thank you.
Reverend Deacon Dorothy Pierce, for
very
sitting
much.
down with us. And we will see y'all next time at the Lagniappe of St. Mark's. So we are out.